A framework is pretty much a way that you can um, list the steps in a process, so it guides you in your way to actually achieve what your the project that you're doing. So, for example, a framework of a way to of like a train station would be arrive at the station and then open the doors and then wait for the passengers to come in and then close the doors and then leave the station. That would be a framework for a train. A framework is pretty much a step by step summary of the tasks involved in a job. And frameworks are important for us because they tell us how to do things. It's like a guidebook or a manual. If you don't know how to do something, like if you don't know how to drive, then you need to go through the framework of actually going through the lessons. But that will be after actually going through the framework of learning the written test or like the verbal test. And it's important because it puts order into learning things and into doing things. And without that, we're just not going to have a stable way to actually get through things. So frameworks help us to uh, have a clear sense of what's going on, I think. It's a lot more important in actual business industries like construction because, and I'm not talking about a literal framework, but I mean like if you follow the framework of first building the foundation and then building whatever else needs to be built, maybe the walls, but then building the walls, then adding in the furniture, that's a framework. Whereas if you just did it the wrong way, it wouldn't be right. So clearly, frameworks are even more important in business, and you should generally have them. You should have like this kind of listed out fashion in the way your business does things. Uh, if you if you're able to present that to the customer, then they're going to be able to trust you a bit more the way you do things. Let's say you fix washing machines. So first of all, you dissect the washing machine, you pull it apart, and then what you do is you have a look at the things in it, what's wrong with it, then you see what that is, and then you give the person a quote. I think that means price or something, and then what you do is you can either do the thing when the person pays you, or if the person isn't going to pay you, then you don't do the thing. That's an example of a framework for building a washing machine. And that's a business-like activity, and we definitely need a framework for that. But even for things like cooking, framework for cooking would be taking the thing out of the fridge and then putting onto the plate, putting the plate in the oven, or maybe not the plate, but you know what I mean, like plate in the microwave, however you're planning on cooking it. That's a framework that would come from cooking, but it's not as important as in business because it's not that complicated of a task. So really the need for frameworks go up when there is more of a complexity involved in the task. So if you're writing an essay, that's a moderately complex task, so you're going to want a framework for that. So first of all, you do the introduction, and then you do the first paragraph, then the body of the text, and then a finalizing paragraph, and then I suppose a conclusion. That's a pretty neat framework for that, but of course these frameworks vary depending on the type of essay that you're going to write. But the same concept applies, the overarching concept of having a framework in the first place, and it forms the basis of pretty much everything that you do. Routines are frameworks in themselves because you do them every day. So let's say you're about to go out for a run, you get dressed, then you put on some shoes, and then you just open the door, you close the door, and then you start running. And then you come home, and then you do the opposite, or you do the same steps in the opposite order. That's just an entire framework. And I suppose that routines could be defined as frameworks which are like the same reversed. So you know how the words like Aviva are the same reversed, like AVIVA, same thing, or race car, RACECA, or, well, like when it comes to running, you'd first of all put on your shoes, go out the door, run, and then come in the door, and then take off your shoes. That's like a reversible framework, but it's the same thing, and that's kind of what routine is like. Um, Even eating breakfast, you get up, and then, well, not including the get up part, but you go downstairs, you eat breakfast, or you make your breakfast, you take out your plate, you dirty your plate by putting food on it, and then you undirty your plate by washing it, put it back in the thing, and then you go back upstairs. Entire process is the exact same reversed, and that's why routines are just so easy to remember, and that's why habits are easy to remember in general. But for any habit or any routine, you need a framework involved in that. That framework, again, it's needed in accordance with its complexity of execution. I think that there's a lot more issues with not having a framework than there are benefits to having a framework. Though maybe we're just underestimating the benefits here, because really there's no disadvantage in anything. It's just a lack of advantage that will be caused by a presence of something. That's all. And what I mean is, if you don't have a framework for anything, then it's going to be pure chaos, and you're not going to be able to achieve anything in life because you don't have a set order in which you do things. That's why I recommend businesses that have a way to teach people things. They have like a listed process in their site, and then they go through it with the customer or client beforehand. And that's actually what I've just put into practice now. What I've done with my web development services is I've put the process in defined steps into the thing with the LDA model, and then I've just listed exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm planning on adding to it tomorrow. But for now, it's just gonna serve as a basis. And what I'm planning on doing with that is whenever I'm in a sales call, I'm going to be using that, and I'm just going to be going through it. It's going to, one, fill up the time because you don't want to be awkward and just not knowing what to say, but two, it's going to actually establish to the person that you have a plan in mind, and a framework is a plan. They're the same thing. So having a plan for that and having it virtually listed out, well, not like virtually as in technologically listed out on a site, it's a very good way to remind yourself of it and teach other people about how you do things. So frameworks are important because they apply order to our lives, and without frameworks there would be nothing. It'd just be chaotic do nothingness, and we wouldn't be able to achieve anything valuable.